Hello and welcome everybody to a new video on locating research using our library's databases. Now, databases collect a bunch of information, a lot of scholarly articles and credible sources that you can rely on for research. And librarians have curated these in addition to database editors. And so one of the positives for this is that the search engine is actually very particular. You have to very narrowly and very specifically choose the words that you're looking to search for because it will only find those words, whereas Google is much smarter and it'll find other connected and recommended words based off of what you search for. So it takes a little more thought, I think, to be able to find some good sources here, where whether you broaden or narrow your search depending on the scope of the kind of language you're using. But once you do have those sources, you'll be able to even filter down to what publication year that they came from. You'd be able to figure out like citation tools and have those pre-generated for you. So all you have to do is check. And it's a really important and helpful research tool that could save you lots and lots of time. So not only for this class, but I think important to know moving forward for other classes as well. So if you have access to a computer right now, you could always follow along with me in a separate window or whatnot. But I've just taken my web browser to the Fullerton College Library homepage at library.fullcall.edu. And going to this page, you'll notice that we have a few different options here. One search is something that we've just started using. I know that a lot of people transfer from Fullerton College to CSUF. And so Cal State Fullerton does use OneSearch. And so this would kind of make it more streamlined for you using databases and searching for sources there, if that's where you plan to transfer. However, you don't have to do one search and search like all the databases. That might be overwhelming. You might get way too many sources back, similar to like the millions of pages that might come back to you if you were to do a Google search over a topic. And so if you click on the databases, there are 72 of them. You'll notice instructions here that when it's a off-campus login, you have to enter in your My Gateway ID number and then your last name. So have that information handy and be able to type that in to be able to access these databases. Additionally, there's another way you can access them too if that's giving you some issues, and that's going through My Gateway. So if you go to mg.noccccd.edu, you'll be able to access all of these databases as well by selecting the Fullerton tab in this drop-down menu. And when you get there, about halfway down the page, you will find a lot of the same databases being listed. And there's Jackie, one of my former students. And so you can go through and click on these. I don't think it'll make you re-enter in your credentials to be able to access them. So it always is a handy thing to use. Now, EBSCO host, I wrote about this earlier in your week 13 module, but EBSCO host is a really broad database that contains a lot of different information. So it's a helpful place to start, and you might find this useful in a variety of classes. So clicking on that, you'll notice that you have 3 different search bars. You can go through and using the plus and minus, you could even add additional fields. This would really narrow down, though, the findings that you receive. So any kind of search for, say, gender roles, and you'll notice that it pre-generates other things for you to look for: gender roles or sex roles or gender stereotypes. You could do, this is a really broad one: gender roles or sex roles or gender stereotypes or, and so notice it's going to look for all of these things. Or, right? So it's doing multiple searches for all of that stuff. And then you can also combine that with something really specific like college. You could put admissions. And I think already that's going to start narrowing the focus. And then here we could put I don't know, gosh, grades. Now this will probably return us with a very narrow results because we added in that grades or academic performance, and it narrows it down even more. But so 11, you'll notice that we have 11 here. We could, if you really wanted to, even narrow down the publication date so it's not so much of a historic setup to the last 10 years. And so if you just move that slider bar there, then it just cuts us down to 4. And so a real quick way to go through and locate research. Here's one called The Efficacy of Single-Sex Education Testing for Selection and Peer Quality Effects. If you were to click on this source, you were interested, say, in that. Over here on the right side, you could always save it. You could email it to yourself. You could print this, which I don't know if I would recommend that depending on how long this thing is. Oh, it's not that bad. Or take a look at Cite. So if you click on Cite, I think this is super helpful. If you had an APA paper to write, there you go. You just copy this and paste it into your paper, right? Still make sure it's double spaced. But also MLA, here we go. So you would take that, and then remember your in-text citation should always be Hayes, right? Hayes et al. And then I'd be able to locate it exactly in that works cited. So there you go. Really quick and simple. You could add it to a folder to access later, or your Google Drive. You could email it to yourself, or you could just download it. I'm pretty sure by clicking on the PDF full text, and there it is, an actual scan. I think you saw it up here that you could download. So the key here is you need to be able to refine your search by searching really specifically for what you are looking for in your argument. And if you're not finding it, then you have to have the flexibility to use these ORs or change the search term so that you're able to really pinpoint what it is that you're looking for. But try doing this in Google. I promise you it will come back with thousands, if not millions, of hits. So a huge time saver here. Now, next, I don't want to only focus on EBSCO host because I think that you'll be finding research for our paper, perhaps using a variety of other sources as well. So here, let's go back to our library page and let's go to opposing viewpoints in context. Now, this one I think is really popular because it's controversial issues. So it sets up really well for Rereading America. And they're organized by topic. So if, say, for instance, you are writing a paper, and you are right now dealing with gender, that if you wanted to write a paper dealing with abortion, for instance, which just got updated, right? You'd find that they've curated a bunch of different sources, even including statistics and video, academic journals, and they have featured viewpoints that can already help you narrow down what you might say about abortion, for instance. And any of these, like even audio, even video, magazine, different websites, statistics. If you look up opinions on abortion by demographic group, for instance, they have a lot of the same tools. You can download, you can email it to yourself and print it as well. But here's something that you could use. Now, they still have citation tools, but you'll find it at the very top. So you have to select, it doesn't give you nearly as many options like Harvard, right? Harvard style. But there you go. The source actually doesn't have a specific author. So remember, we always cite it then in the Intext citations based off of the first 2 or 3 words of your title. So I'd recommend here opinions on abortion, because opinions on is kind of awkward, right? So in quotes, opinions on abortion should be in those parentheses before your period for that in-text citation. So there you go. Another way to go about finding research. Now, the last one then that I want to focus in on with you is going to be one that I think is really good if you just wanted to learn more about the topic to then figure out what you might say. A lot of people tend to do this by going to a wiki page like Wikipedia. But the problem with that is that wikis could be edited by anybody. So I know whole classes that have done experiments like this to falsify information on a page or whatnot, just as a test. But it does seem like, due to the security that they have involved, that even if there is an error over time, they will catch that, right? But CQ Researcher really puts it together much nicer. So let me show you what I mean. If we go there, they have a specific featured report always listed, and they always have pro and con, which I think is great. So you get 2 different views over the issue to really think about. College debt, maybe this would have been really helpful in a previous paper, right? Will COVID-19 send borrowers' default rates soaring? College debts. You'll find a variety of other related reports that they found for you, but it has all of its citations and highly informative. Now, if you wanted to include anything from that, they do have a site now, and you can select MLA. And if you didn't want to just copy paste that, you could even export that into a variety of other citation tools for yourself. You could always print or email or save it as well. Sometimes the save thing I've found is a little wonky, so just be careful with that. So yeah, you can go through and browse for topics. Social movements, for instance, you could go through and look at feminism and try to narrow down something here. The gender pay gap, India today, sexual harassment and abuse. I could see that somebody could write a paper and tie this back into one of our readings right now. So is the Me Too movement making a difference? You could kind of use this as an overview of the topic. And rather than cite directly from it, what you could even do is come to the very bottom where you see all of the footnotes, and you could find these specific sources then. So you're not finding the curated, broad and general thing, but you're going to the original source of it. You could always do that as well. Steal from the sources that these are using. So really quickly, I wanted to highlight those 3: EBSCO host, opposing viewpoints, I almost forgot what it was, CQ Researcher, those 3, so you could be able to locate some really good research, maybe get some ideas in the event that you're having trouble narrowing and focusing your arguments. And just know that you could always locate additional research using Google, but I think this will save you more time if you go through the databases. So I hope this helps save you a lot of time. I hope that it helps you locate some quality research, because if you find really good evidence, it helps your paper. But remember, I think a good rule of thumb is you want 2 to 3 times the amount of analysis, your own ideas, like your own interpretation, to show mastery over the concepts that you're including into the paper. It's not enough to just have really good evidence. You need to be able to comment on that and explain exactly what that means and why you've included it, right? What's the significance of that, so that you make it yours. So in any case, I know it's been a while since I've posted a video, but I hope that this video finds you well, and that this was helpful. If you have any questions, please do drop them in the comments. Please do email me. You could always use the Canvas inbox alternatively as well. Set up an office hours visit for me by visiting rsharoma.com you can book me, or .youcanbook.me, and I will see you all in our modules. Thanks, everybody. Bye.